guys, it's Nick from Let's Chat, and in this video today I'm going to review my round 20 AFL footy tips, and I'm going to do my round 21 footy tips. So let's get underway. So the first match of the week last week was between Collingwood and Carlton, and I got that tip right because Carlton upset the Pies. Yes! Go Blues! Then I got the next three wrong in Geelong, the Bulldogs and the Lions. They all somehow lost in upsets. Then I got Sydney right in a classic against Essendon, and I got Port Adelaide wrong, which was really disappointing. Then I got St Kilda and Melbourne right, so I've got 4 tips out of 9 this week. And the last tip I got wrong, which was North Melbourne, and they lost to West Coast. Somehow West Coast got their second win of the season. So now I'm going to go and tip who I think will win this week. And the first game will be between the Western Bulldogs and Richmond. Both teams were losers last week. The Bulldogs had a 5-point loss to GWS in an upset, and Richmond had a bit of a loss against Melbourne, which was expected. So I reckon in a tight one here, I reckon Richmond will win. I'm going to tip them to win by 11 points, Richmond. So the next game is between Essendon and West Coast. Essendon had a 4-point loss against the Swans last weekend, and West Coast remarkably got their second win of the season finally over North Melbourne, and they won that by 5 points. But I still think Essendon should win this easy, and I'm going to tip Essendon to win by 68 points. So the next game is between Adelaide and the Gold Coast. Both teams came off brilliant wins last week, with Tex Walker kicking 7 goals in the showdown. I mean, he's doing well at his age, kicking bags of goals still. He got the showdown medal. And with the Gold Coast, they had a brilliant win against Brisbane in the Q Clash, and Took Miller got the Q Clash medal, and he was really good in keeping Lachie Neale quiet. So congrats to him. Anyways, I'm going to tip the Crows here. Since it's the Adelaide Oval, they normally do well there. I'm going to tip Adelaide to win by 16 points. So the next game is between Hawthorn and Collingwood. Hawthorn had a bit of a disappointing loss against St Kilda. They were back within 11 points at one stage, but St Kilda got away with it in the last quarter. And with Collingwood, they lost against Carlton. They also lost, and they lost against Carlton last week. So they finally had a loss again. It was their 3rd loss for the season, Collingwood. So Collingwood should bounce back. I'm going to tip them to win by 56 points. So the next game is between Geelong and Port Adelaide. Both teams had bad losses last week. Geelong had a disappointing loss against Fremantle, and Port Adelaide had a really disappointing loss against Adelaide in the showdown. And they've lost 3 in a row now, Port Adelaide, after winning 13 consecutive games. But I have a slight feeling that Port Adelaide will come out responding, and I reckon in a close encounter they'll win by 8 points, Port Adelaide. So the next game is between GWS and Sydney, the Battle of the Bridge game, the Sydney Derby. Well, both teams had nail-biting wins last week. GWS had a 5-point win against the Western Bulldogs, with Toby Green, the star, kicking 5 goals in the second half, I believe, which pretty much won them the game in that comeback against the Bulldogs. And Sydney, well, they just hold on to beat Essendon by 4 points. But they'll be without Buddy Franklin now because he's retired now, and he won't be playing any more games. So that's it for Buddy Franklin. I did a tribute video about it yesterday, so feel free to watch that if you haven't already. But anyways, I reckon in this match, it's normally a nail biter. Again, I'm going to go GWS by 4 points. So the next game is between North Melbourne and Melbourne. North Melbourne had a 5-point loss against West Coast in an upset, and Melbourne had a bit of a comfortable win against Richmond. They had a come from behind win, and Melbourne won last week. So Melbourne should win this easy. I'm going to tip them to win by 79 points. So the next game is between St Kilda and Carlton. St Kilda had a solid win over Hawthorn, and Carlton had an upset win over Collingwood. Yes! Go Blues. St Kilda, well, they started off the season 4-0, and I was like, they could have a decent season, but, you know, St Kilda, they always fuck up. And with Carlton, well, we're pretty much the opposite. Like, we did start the season off with a few wins, but then we went downhill, but then we started winning 6 in a row. We're favourites for this game as well. Hopefully we can win our 7th consecutive game. So I'm going to tip Carlton to win by 57 points. So the last game is between Fremantle and Brisbane. Fremantle had a unbelievable win last week against the reigning premiers in Geelong. And Brisbane, well, they had a really horrible loss against their arch rivals in Gold Coast. I reckon Brisbane will come back firing this week, like they'll respond. So I'm going to tip Brisbane here to win by 37 points. So thank you all for watching this video, guys. Please like, comment and subscribe, and I'll see you all in the next video. Catch you guys.